In this video, I'm going to take you through the basics of setting up a Padlet board. The first thing that I always recommend is that when you go to sign up or log in, use the Google sign-in since we are a Google district. So I'm going to click on sign up with Google, and I'm going to then click on my Marysville account. And if you have to, you put in the credentials for your email and your password for the district, and that will get you started. That will bring you to the Padlet dashboard. You'll have two options. If you're just beginning, you can click on Create a New Padlet, or if you've ever used Padlet in the past, you can click on this Padlets link, and this will bring you to previous Padlets that you've created. So I'm going to open up this one that I've started that is blank currently. You could, if you wanted to, just double-click anywhere on the screen and begin adding some sticky notes. But I do recommend, in general, going ahead and making some basic setting changes for your Padlet board depending on how you plan to use it with your students. So the settings are all accessed via this gear icon. The main settings are the basic info, which is where you add the title, description, and background, or pardon me, a portrait icon. The wallpaper, which allows you to put some kind of background. The layout, which lets you determine how you want the different sticky notes to appear. Privacy settings, so depending on whether or not you're going to have this be a curated resource where you're maybe providing students with links and videos and all of those sorts of things and you don't want them to edit it, or if you want it to be collaborative and you do want students to contribute to the board. Notifications, which lets you kind of track changes to your Padlet board. Address, which lets you customize the link to your Padlet if you want. Copy, which lets you take a previously created Padlet and make a clone of it, which can be really handy if you're using it in multiple sections or to do maybe quick write type activities that you repeat certain types of instructions. And then delete. So let's take a moment now to go back through those settings a little bit slower. So I'm going to start with the basic info. The first thing that you can do is have a little icon up at the top, and I'm just going to show you that when I click on it, it puts this icon off in the top left corner. Then I can give it a title. I'm just going to call this Test Padlet. And in the description is usually where I put the directions, some sort of guidance of what it is that I want students to do if they're coming onto the Padlet board, or if it's a resource for students to explore. For instance, if this was about the water cycle, then I would put some information here as far as what I would like students to do in terms of accessing those. The next is wallpaper. The wallpaper lets you set a background that can be used thematically to help introduce the idea or to kind of go along with whatever it is that you are asking students to write about or submit entries about. I will point out that there is an example down here. There's a notebook example. There's also ways to add your own images in the background, and you can use those backgrounds as almost like a graphic organizer. Then we have the layout. Freeform lets you put your entries anywhere you want on the board. That's fine when you're making your own Padlet boards, but typically if you're collaborating with others, you're going to want to set it to stream or grid. Stream will cause the posts that come in to be entered kind of like a blog would, where they work in descending order. So you can see as I add more and more boards, it just pushes them down. This is a good one to handle a discussion type environment on your Padlet. The one that I use the most is the grid layout, and the grid layout just puts any new entry in a nice uniform layout on the board so that none of the tiles are overlapping. Then we have the privacy settings. There's basically two settings that I tend to recommend using. The first one is if it's a collaborative Padlet board, if you're going to ask students or staff to work on the board with you, the default setting is that it will be a hidden link and anyone with that link can write. Here's the link. Actually, you can't see that on my screen, but the link is up above in the address, and also I can go and get it here. This is the link that I would share with people. If after we've collaborated, if I want to sort of lock it so that students can't go in after hours and change things, when I'm done sharing it with students, I can come here to the drop-down arrow, change it to Can Write, and then I have to remember to scroll down a little bit and click on the Submit button. And that will change it so that that hidden link will still be available. Students can click on it and they can view the material. They just can't modify it or add to it anymore. I also use this setting if I'm making a board, for instance, a resource on the water cycle. I would leave it as hidden link can view so that students can't add to the board. It's a resource that I've created as a teacher. Notifications. If you do have a collaborative board that students can contribute to over time, you may want to turn on the notifications so that you will be able to check and see if the board has been changed. Address is kind of handy because you can create a custom Padlet, so I could come in here and name this so that the address would be padlet.com / my username, which is khard, / whatever I put in here for the words. So I could use this as a bell ringer. So I might want to do bell ringer 1 or bell ringer 2, bell ringer 3. And when I do that, then that will allow students to type in the address if you want to. Under copy, once I've made a board, if I'm going to use it with maybe multiple sections, or I want to create sort of a template for my Padlets, I can do copy with posts and copy without posts. That should make a lot of sense there. And then finally, there's the delete, if I want to delete a board after I'm done. Those are the primary settings that you need to know about when you're setting up a Padlet board. The only other one that I would suggest kind of getting familiar with here is this share and export, because this is where you can get to an embed code for your Padlet board if you want to put it on Edmodo or Moodle. It also generates a QR code for you if you want to use a QR code as a way of having students access your Padlet. So this is a quick getting started guide. Should allow you to start making a Padlet board and using it with your students right away.